Welcome back to Book It. We are downtown right now, gotta grab the coffee, and then we're gonna head out to the beach because we've got Brandi Necole waiting for us. We are gonna chat with Brandi, who is a model here in LA. I met her this past year. She booked a test shoot with me for some fitness photo portfolio updates. And I think just over the course of that hour-long shoot, I just knew that she was someone that I wanted to have on this channel because I felt like her story is one that a lot of people can resonate with. I know I did, and ultimately I think that's just one of the big things that I want this channel to be about, is telling model stories and letting people see what working models in this industry are like. But the biggest thing that really stuck out to me is that she is a nice, good person. And I think that in this industry, that takes you a lot further than you may think, because we have an industry filled with a lot of just very business, cold and calculated, or I'm only with you to see what I can get from you type of attitudes. And I think when you actually meet nice, genuine people, they're gonna go a long way in this industry because people like to work with nice people. So let's get on out to the beach and get this interview started. So you were an NFL cheerleader.
Yes, I was.
And that led into you becoming a model. How did that journey take place?
So it all started with me needing to get a headshot for my audition. The photographer that took my headshot, we just hit it off and we started testing a bunch. We would test like multiple times a week. And that kind of got me used to modeling. So one of my cheerleading sisters, her agent actually was looking for someone with my exact look. And she basically let me know, like, hey, my agent is looking for someone for this big job. Can I give him your information? And I was like, of course. So he ended up booking me for my first gig, which was fit modeling for Victoria's Secret.
Fit modeling, notoriously not fitness modeling.
Exactly,
right?
yes,
It's fit modeling,
yes. So basically I would go in and I would do the exact same pose that the Victoria's Secret model was doing, and they would just take photos of me doing that exact same pose. So it was very easy, and I loved it. I was like, wow, this is just a really glamorous job. And the rest was history, essentially.
So who were you cheerleading for?
I cheered for the Tennessee Titans.
Tennessee Titans. So
Yeah.
the job you got was with an agency in Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay. So there's work all over the country, not just in LA and New York.
Exactly. There was a good amount of work in Nashville, but not enough to keep me as busy as I would have wanted to be, which is why I came out here to LA.
Gotcha. And you were finished with the cheerleading. You came out here to model,
Yes.
to work, to be Hollywood.
Yes, exactly. I needed a bigger pond to swim in.
Exactly. And it succeeded?
Yes,
It worked?
it's going good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take me back to moving out here from Nashville. What was that experience like? What are your takeaways about making it here in LA? Because it's not for everybody.
Yeah, you definitely need to know who you are. Like coming out here, I think it's very easy to get caught up in the LA lifestyle, especially coming from a small city, which, coming from Nashville, there wasn't a lot going on. So it's very easy to kind of lose yourself and forget that you're here to work. So I think that, definitely know who you are. Definitely remember why you came here, which is to work, and have fun. You can have fun.
You can always have a little fun.
Yeah, you can have some fun, but keep a good head on your shoulders, and also stay grounded is another thing that I would suggest. And that was something that I had to remember for myself, was just to stay grounded and remember where I came from, remember my morals and values that I came out here with. A lot of people would say, like, you're so nice, like, don't let LA change you. Yeah. And I think that that's very true. It's easy to kind of get a little jaded, especially in the modeling industry where you're getting so much rejection and there's so much competition. So yeah, that's my takeaways.
What does that look like for you in a daily activity? Do you journal? Do you talk to family? Do you?
Yeah, definitely journaling is something that I love to do. I love to actually come out to the beach and do that, just connect with nature, journal a little bit, and remind myself of just why I'm here, who I am, and all of that type of things. My mom was actually one person that kind of kept me grounded. She's not here anymore.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but definitely like staying close to family. Having a good friend group also helps. People that I can
Super
trust.
important.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to find that right off the bat, but you also have to be clear on who you maybe don't want to be friends with.
Right.
Be okay being alone sometimes in order to find the right people for you when you're here.
Exactly. And it took me a little while to find like some really down to earth, good people out here that I felt like I could trust. Especially being in the entertainment industry in general, a lot of people maybe don't have your best interest.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to be careful with the crowd that you keep.
Yeah. I mean, when I was at the agency, it's always those things where, I never want to tell people what to do. And you can do whatever you want as long as you show up to work.
Yeah.
If I get a call that says your 7 a.m. call time and it's 8 o'clock and you're not there, that's a problem. Like now all of a sudden what you're doing outside of life, if that kept you from being able to wake up in time, that's a problem.
Exactly.
But if you can do that and show up and work, do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But remember why you're here, I think, right? Because you're trying to be successful. In a place like LA where there's so much opportunity, there's also that much more competition.
Yes.
So you have to find ways to stand out amongst your peers, not only to the clients, but also to your agents.
Yeah, that too. You definitely want to always be on your A game. That's another thing. Like you said, there's so much competition here that it's easy to kind of get lost in the sea of other models or other creatives. So as long as you are just constantly staying on top of it, reminding yourself of why you're here, have a little fun, but at the end of the day, like, you came here for a reason. You came here to make it. You came here to, whatever your goals are, like, make sure that you keep your goals front of mind is what I would say.
From the time that you've moved here to LA and you've been working, how has race been an impact for you as you see it both from your representation with your agency, how you feel like the industry as a whole has been kind of like working either to your benefit or demise?
That's a good question. So in my experience, it's tricky because, I feel like, I hate to say it, but there's always only a few spots for a Black girl. And one thing that I struggle with is, like, for example, with my agency, I would just notice how there may only be like a few Black girls and maybe one of them or two of them had a similar look to me. And so it just makes you feel like, or made me feel like I was in direct competition with those girls. And it doesn't really breed for the best relationships because you're always feeling like, well, I'm seeing these girls at the same castings that I'm at, and you're wanting to get booked and you're seeing them working and you're comparing their work to you, and it becomes like a comparison game. But in my experience, it kind of always has been like that, where you may be on set, there's only one Black girl on set, and maybe like, a few white girls or whatever the case may be. So that's definitely been something that's been a little bit of a mental struggle for me. And I think with the industry as a whole can do a better job, even though we are seeing a lot more diversity and inclusion in the industry, and that's like a thing, especially since 2020 with the whole George Floyd and Black Lives Matter and stuff. I think a lot of brands were trying to be more inclusive, but I think we still have a long way to go.
What are some things that on set that you think brands, production, whatever could do to make you feel a little bit more welcome or make you feel a little bit more seen, appreciated?
Honestly, I think just having more of us.
More of you?
Yeah, because I don't want to make it a thing where it's like you have to, roll out the red carpet for us and have flowers and all of that stuff. But I think, just kind of seeing more of us on set would make me specifically feel like, okay, we're seeing some changes. Like, I can tell that this brand, they care about showing various types of people versus, just having the one token Black girl, which is what we're used to.
One thing that we talked about is obviously the concern about you having to bring your own foundation.
Oh yeah.
Just as a safety. No other talent really has to do that,
Yeah.
but darker skin talent do.
Yes.
albeit we don't want to have to do that or have you rely on doing that. But I was suggesting that this should now be a responsibility of the agent to inquire with production to ensure that they are aware that you have talent coming to set that have this complexion, that have these limitations or these specific instructions for their hair. No heat applied, no whatever, right?
Yeah.
Those should be things that I think the agency should take off of the shoulders of the talent. To protect you.
That's really good. I definitely agree with that. I feel like, if agents were doing that, I would feel so much better as a model, because there have definitely been times where, I've gone to set or been doing, even if it's just like a test shoot or something like that with multiple people there, hair, makeup, styling, etc. And the makeup artist doesn't know how to do, or doesn't have my shade, or the hairstylist doesn't know how to do black hair. And there was even a time when I would wear wigs and they don't have experience with wigs. And, it probes the question of can you call this person a professional? Because you have to be able to work with everybody,
Right.
and it definitely kind of hits on your self-esteem when you're on set, and you're a model. You want to feel beautiful. You want to go in front of the camera and feel confident. And when you don't really have that because your makeup looks bad or your hair doesn't look that great, it just really sucks. And I am one of those people that is very mindful and careful about how I make people feel. So it would be hard for me to even, want to go to the bathroom and change things
To speak up.
And just be vocal about that, because I don't want to ruffle feathers, and I don't want to lose a job or it get back to my agents and it's like, oh, this person is hard to work with, so
then you're running into whole different tropes of that.
Exactly. So if agents were, kind of taking that on, please,
Right.
yeah.
So the goal to move to LA is obviously to work, and by getting work, you want to get an agency.
Right.
But that didn't start off super smooth. You didn't come here and get an agent right off the bat.
No, not
what
even.
was that like for you?
So when I first got here, I honestly hit the ground running. I connected with some friends of a friend that were also creative. Some of them were actors. We had a videographer in the group. And we would just get together and create. We would do little skits. We would do test shoots together. I was posting a lot on Instagram, and so I was able to get found. I think I booked my first job, which was a music video for Bryson Tiller. I booked that through Instagram. So I was just trying as hard as I could to just kind of stay busy and produce as much as I could. And from the relationships that I was able to make during that time, I was able to sign with an agency a year after I moved here.
Gotcha. It's that hustle. You want to look busier even if you're not super busy, but just the idea of creating and networking is so strong.
It's so important. Who honestly can get you indoors very, very quickly. That's one thing that, one takeaway that I have just from my time in the beginning of getting here is just definitely network and get to know people. And stay busy, for sure.
And be kind.
Yeah,
because
that too.
people would rather work with someone they like rather than someone who's
selfish and just looking out for themselves and, walking all over people just to get to the next level. You want to bring people up alongside you.
Yeah. And they, so you got signed to an agency. Your first agency here. You had a mother agency before that?
Technically, I kind of consider them my mother agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how did that progression go during having that agency and then kind of, I guess, till now? Did you stay with the same one?
Yes. So I've stayed with that agency just because I feel like they really take care of me. There's been times that I've had other agents who I felt like didn't take care of me so much, and they really have my back. They've just always been the agency that's just been there, and they show up, they get me work. And honestly, coming out here, I casted and went to a lot of castings for a bunch of different agencies, and they were the one that really you know, they chose me. So I just, you know, I'd stay with them because I wanted to keep working.
And that loyalty, I think, is really important. There's all these opportunities where you can maybe move on. Maybe you want to like, oh, I want to go to a big name, a brand name, a Wilhelmina or whatever like that, which you probably could.
Yeah.
But there's also an element of wanting to be with the people who had your back from day one.
Exactly.
An element of people who trust you,
Yes.
who see and envision a future for you. That's really key, I think, and I don't think we see that enough in the industry nowadays. People look at models like, you know, just commodities rather than people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that I really loved about the agency that I chose and who chose me is they were a boutique agency. So I really loved that they didn't have a ton of models on the roster, so they could give me that attention that I was able to get with them. But also they just, yeah, they're kind of like a family. Like they always had my back. It was very easy to talk to them, from the owner to the agents. So I really enjoyed that experience.
So since that time, you have gotten signed in Chicago, Miami,
Yep.
Nashville. What kind of advice would you give to other talent that are trying to expand to other markets, that are, you know, trying to, you know, obviously get as much work as they can, but, you know, one of the fun parts about being a model is traveling.
Yeah. So obviously to get signed in all of those other markets, I had to make sure that my portfolio was on point. So definitely just having a well-rounded portfolio with different types of images was what helped me to get signed in all those other markets.
And you're talking about lifestyle,
Yes,
commercial, maybe a little
absolutely.
fashion, editorial,
everything, yes,
all of it.
beauty, just everything. And the one thing that I wish I would have done better is spending some time in those other markets. I didn't really spend much time in those other markets at all, so I wasn't booking work. I booked, you know, a couple jobs here and there, but it wasn't as much as maybe I could have been. And I needed to give those agencies, you know, the time and the opportunity to really put me out there in a way that would get me booked. And I didn't really do that. So that's one thing that I wish I would have done better.
Yeah, and I think for anyone that isn't experienced in that element, the reason why you want to go spend time in those markets is because your agent could send your portfolio all over the place. They can do that as much as they can, but it's all about relationships still. So you want to go to Chicago and try and get in front of castings,
Yes.
get in front of some clients, do some go-sees. That way, those people who are the ones who are actually in charge of booking get to see you in person and not just a portfolio.
Yeah, and honestly, that was the only thing that did get me booked. So for example, when I was signed in Miami, going for a swim week was, you know, that was the way that I was able to get in front of clients and go to the agency and meet with my agents. That was the first time I actually met them in person, even though I'd been signed with them for many months. But being able to be there in person in front of the clients was what helped me to actually book work.
Rejection is a very real thing.
Yes.
It can take a toll on people.
Absolutely. It absolutely can.
How has that been, you know, how has that had an effect on your life? How has that had an effect on your career?
So I think just as a model, especially if you want to be in this industry, you have to know that rejection is just a part of the game. And it's not about you, it's what the client wants, what the client needs. You know, so I think that I just had to learn to not take things personally. And as I was growing older and starting to understand and know myself a little bit more, it started to really sink in that, you know, I'm great just how I am, and I'm unique, and that matters as well. So I think just really like leaning into your uniqueness as a person in general and as a model is what's going to help you kind of get through the rejection and not taking things too personally. And just knowing that rejection is literally a part of the game.
And sometimes it lays it on in thicker some days, some months than others, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's not an attack on you as a person. And I think as soon as you can really like separate yourself from the industry in that regard, like I think the happier you'll be. I know one of the best piece of advice is, I mean, I was working at an agency and my coworker was a model and just gave the advice. I was like, as soon as you leave a casting, forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Don't think about, I hope I booked this one.
Yes.
Oh, nothing. You know nothing about that until you maybe get a call back or you get put on a veil. That's it.
Exactly. And honestly, even a part of just manifestation in general, it's kind of like, you know, when you're trying to manifest something or you want something, you know, want it, but then let it go.
Yeah.
You know, don't attach too much to anything because opportunities are going to come and they're going to go and they're going to come and they're going to go. You know, there's always going to be more opportunities. And just always put your best foot forward is what I would say. And that's one thing that I had to learn was just always just give your best. And, you know, if they want you, they want you. They may not want you today. They may want you a month from now.
Right.
Or 3 months from now. You know, you just never know.
If you can put yourself in a good position in those castings and in those meetings, yeah, like they're gonna remember you.
Exactly.
And you know, for the better or worse. So you wanna always try and like when you step on to work, when you step into a room, to put your best self forward. So
be confident and just give it your all and know that you got it regardless. Like they wanted to see you for a reason. So regardless of if they choose you in that moment or not, it is what it is. It's just all a part of the game. And yeah.
try and have something in your life also outside of the industry so you're not putting all your eggs in this basket.
Exactly.
That can be real dangerous.
Yeah. Definitely have just, you know, a social life and other hobbies, other interests, other things to do with your time. Because that's also another thing that, you know, clients want to see. Even after you go into the audition, maybe they're still watching you. They might be watching your Instagram. They may be, you know, just trying to see like what else are you into? Who are you as a person?
Right.
So those all those things kind of go together.
If your social is only one-dimensional, or if you don't, I hate to say it, but also if you don't post at all, you know, it can also come back to bite you a little bit.
Yeah,
but.
yeah, and that's one thing that I struggle with now. I think when I first got here, I was really in grind mode. I was really getting to it, posting all the time, always on stories. And lately, I've been kind of struggling. I'm not gonna lie, I've been struggling with just showing up online. And I know that it's affecting my work. So that's definitely another thing is, you know, just show up and have other things going on. Like you said, don't put all your eggs in one basket and know that your opportunity that's for you is never gonna miss you. So to all the people who may be dealing with something that I'm actually dealing with right now, which is grief. I actually lost my mom about a year and a half ago at the end of 2022. It's been really tough with the whole transition of, you know, losing her. I took a year off from work to grieve, and then just kind of getting back to work. It's been really tough for me. But I do want to just give some encouragement to people who may be dealing with grief or dealing with anything, just any hard time that's kind of keeping them from feeling creative and feeling like wanting to go to work and be kind of show up in the way that they need to.
So that's like it's still so fresh.
Yeah.
Like that's not easy, and I just imagine that there's an element of support that you need, both personally but also professionally.
Definitely. And I, you know, I hate to say, but I didn't always feel the most support from, you know, my team and even family members, you know, just people that were very close to me, friends, all of that. So it's been really hard just navigating that, but especially getting back to work and knowing that, you know, not everybody understands and the world just keeps moving. So you kind of have to keep moving as hard as it is. You just have to kind of find a way to, you know, keep yourself grounded, take the time that you need, but definitely find ways to find acceptance and happiness so that you can keep going. Because at the end of the day, you know, I'm still here, and God still has a purpose for me, and I am still in the process of understanding that and accepting that and being okay with that. And it's gonna take some time, but definitely speaking to myself and others, like, don't give up at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's probably gonna be one of the hardest things to try and say from someone not experiencing this is just like, at certain points when you show up on set, like, you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days.
Right.
And at some point, like, it's also, I imagine you tell me, like, you got to push it aside and just work.
Yes.
Like,
there's definitely been times where like I've been on set and wanted to cry. Like, I did have a moment. It was shortly after my mom passed away. I was on set and some songs that I was playing for her while she was in the hospital were playing while I was getting my makeup done. And so it just kind of brought me back to that moment. And so I just kind of had to like step away, you know, wipe my tears and get back to it. But yeah, it's tough, but I can handle it. And, you know, it's possible to keep going and push through, especially when you just surround yourself with people who care about you and love you, and, you know, go to set, do what you have to do, but then at the end of the night, you know, call somebody or take that moment to yourself.
And everyone is gonna, their timeline is gonna be different. Their, you know, their healing process is gonna be different. So this is no one way for everybody by any means.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
you want to make sure that you also know what you need for yourself. And, you know, if you need more time, like, your team should give you more time.
Yeah.
And if you like would rather work through it to take your mind off it, then let that be the case as well.
Yes.
But like, if you need something for yourself and you know you need that and your team's not giving it to you, you are more important than your team.
Right, maybe reconsider, you know, your team. But one thing I will say is I'm very grateful for my agents right now. Like, you know, I've been able to communicate with them that, you know, I'm having a hard time right now and I kind of want to take a step back, or, you know, whatever it might be in that moment.
Right.
And they're supportive. So that's another reason why I'm so grateful that I chose the agency that I did. And I'm just grateful to have that support, you know. So I would say to models, make sure that, you know, you have support, just hands down.
And communicate too. Like, your agent doesn't know that you might be going through something if you don't tell them. And so you want them to have your back, but you got to communicate with them to let them know how they can best help you too.
Yes, communication is key for sure.
So as a veteran, someone who's been in this industry for a minute, what do you prioritize now? What are you looking for out of this industry, out of your career, out of your life? What are you trying to do?
Definitely prioritizing like work-life balance. So, you know, not grinding as hard, still on the grind, but prioritizing like my long-term goals, which, you know, I really want to transition into being more behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. Maybe doing a little bit more of producing my own work. But also, like, I'm really into like investing in real estate and, you know, all those things that kind of make money for you so you don't have to do so much work.
That passive income,
exactly.
make
Passive
money work
income.
for you.
Yes. So I'm really focusing a lot on that and just kind of, you know, putting a little more energy into building something there. And, you know, I love modeling, but it's starting to become something that I do, you know, for fun. The big jobs or the ones that like really matter versus, you know, the smaller, you know, here and there's.
At a certain time in your career, you can start saying goodbye to those $500 jobs,
Exactly.
those $1,000 jobs. Just call me when you have something that really you know, tickles my feather.
Right. Literally. So yeah, that's pretty much where I am now, and I'm grateful to be in this space because, you know, it's looking back, it's just like I would have never known, you know, where I was going to get to when I first moved to LA and when I first you know, got behind the camera, the first shoot that I ever did. And for me to now be able to say, okay, I'm going to take a little step back, it's a blessing. So, yeah.
And as long as you communicate, you talk with your agents, you have that trust and you have the respect, I think, you know, nobody wants to try and send you on stuff that you're not going to go to, you're not happy doing. So it's an element I think agents also, you know, kind of just want to be on each other's team for, because if they can start just saying, okay, you know, Brandi's minimum is $3,000, you know, okay, so now they just know what they can do.
Yeah.
And then if they need to bring someone else in, maybe someone less experienced to, you know, kind of tackle some of those lower paying jobs that they still want the money for, so be it. Let them do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out and run all over the city for auditions for just anything anymore.
Exactly.
You've earned that.
Yes, and I literally just had that conversation with my agent not too long ago, and he was very, very accepting and just like, okay, like that's totally fine. So that's another thing. I used to be really afraid to communicate certain things because I didn't want to seem like, you know, I don't want to work, or, you know, I'm just out here just trying to live the LA life. Like, no, I just communicate. Like you said, communication is key, and your agents will love you for it, for sure. And one thing I will say about you is like, models need to listen to what you have to say, because a lot of times, like especially me coming into the industry, I didn't really have anyone telling me like what I should do, what I shouldn't do, what's okay, what's not okay. So I did kind of like tiptoe around things just so that I wouldn't ruffle feathers. But yeah, you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to kind of just communicate, in a respectful way, what you need, what you want. And yeah, it's going to be received well.
And that's what I think is really important for this channel, is to also empower talent to know what you can stand on business for yourself, but also elements where, you're not owed anything.
Yeah.
You have to work for what you want in this life, and this industry is no different. And I think one of the toughest things that I think models will have to hear is that y'all are probably the most replaceable people on any production set.
Yeah,
and once you realize that, you realize how much your professionalism takes you further, how much your niceties, how polite you are, how good of a person, not just polite, but being a good person, right?
Yeah.
All that can really elevate your career. And so I want people to really understand this industry more so that they can really get where they want to get to, because too many people leave the industry before they even have the opportunity to see what they could have done with it, because they didn't know what to do.
Yep.
It's so vague.
Yeah. There's no handbook. There's no there's no model, to say like, go about it this way. But definitely having people like you, and also having great agents that kind of teach you the game. And maybe if you have a veteran model who can kind of give you a little bit of game, and even just tell you like mistakes that they made and what not to do or what not, like that's important.
Models to model relationships are so strong. I think it's such an opportunity. I think, especially nowadays, I think people want to help each other more.
Yeah.
At least that's how I feel it also is. But also, like, say for example, you have a friend, maybe a newer model, they ask you for help. You're not taking these $1,000 jobs anymore.
Right.
Your limit's $3,000. Give it to that person.
Yeah,
and you
for
say,
sure.
I got a talent for you. Like, so-and-so calls you. And that's how I think a lot of people can really elevate their work when they're here.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like I did a lot of that in the beginning. If I knew about a job that maybe I wasn't good for, and I know a model that is good for it, I'm like, hey, I know about this job, X, Y, and Z. Here's the contact, just in case you're available. And then the favor gets returned to you.
I always believe that. I always love referring work out, because I do believe that work is going to come back in one way or another. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
And what is it? You don't expect it,
right?
But at the same time, you're like, karma's out there.
Karma. Exactly. Period.
Well, I think that's us wrapping up for this episode. Awesome. Book It, Walk and Talk. Brandi, you have been an amazing guest. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come out to the beach and chat with us. I say us as the collective us, the industry, the community. What is something that you wish that your younger self would know when entering this industry now? If they were entering now, what would be the advice that you would give your younger self?
I would tell her, young Brandi, don't be so hard on yourself. You have what it takes. You have the confidence, you have the look, you have, the attitude, everything. Don't overthink it. Forget about the competition. Just do your thing. Be confident, and lean on those people that are supporting you, because support is everything in this industry. And yeah, just grind hard, girl. Grind hard.
Grind hard, girl. All right, there it is.
Yeah, that's what I would tell her. But definitely, the biggest thing is don't be too hard on yourself, because I was way too hard on myself, way too critical of myself starting out. And I think it held me back a little bit, because I just didn't believe in myself the way that I should have. And it was like everyone around me believed in me, but I just wasn't seeing it. And as a model, the confidence that you have is going to show. It's gonna, it comes out. So if you're lacking in confidence, that's going to show in your photos. It's going to show in how you, interact with people. So definitely for me, I would just tell her, like, just do your thing, girl.
Yeah. imposter syndrome is a real thing, but we push through to put ourselves in rooms that we deserve to be in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate this. And stick around for the next episode, whenever that may come.